Well, folks, here we go for the weekly forecast. During this last 7 days, of course, we've seen some precipitation break out across extreme southern Nebraska in response to a cold front that moved through last weekend. We were expecting to see that precipitation a little bit farther to the north, basically I-80 corridor southward to the Kansas, but because that cold front pushed a little bit farther south than originally projected, we've seen the heaviest of precipitation fall across northern Kansas. Of course, then the heat returned in earnest as we got to that Tuesday and Wednesday time frame. Heat indices commonly across the state were in the 105 to 110 range, specifically in the eastern half of the state. Then the cold front that moved through on Thursday developed thunderstorm activity, the heaviest of it across northeastern Nebraska. The line did fill in through south central Nebraska, but precipitation totals were much lighter than we would like to have seen. We didn't get the heavy precipitation we've seen across northern portions of Iowa and southern Minnesota associated with this frontal boundary, where two-day totals range anywhere from 5 to upwards of 15 inches of moisture. I mean, we need precipitation, but we don't need it that bad. Now, as we go through this next 7-day period, unfortunately, we'll see a little bit cooler weather as the models have become a little bit cooler into the extended, but we're not seeing much in the way of significant moisture. There's a couple outside chances. Perhaps maybe one of these the models have underestimated, and we'll see some decent moisture, but right now I would say that the odds are very slim. So here we are today with that trough that's now starting to move to the east of us. We have a little bit of activity, or basically lift, on the very far western fringes of this. So extreme east central, northeast Nebraska may see a scattered shower this morning, but most of this activity will move toward the northeast into the Great Lakes region. You'll notice that the upper air flow is from the northwest to the southeast, so we got some cooler air into the region, and that will hold for the week. So as we go to tomorrow, what we will notice is that the ridge lifts a little bit farther to the north. We are still going to see temperatures that are seasonal. We're not looking at much in the way of any 90-degree temperatures. Most of the lift will associate with the trough will be over the lower Ohio River Valley and the upper Great Lakes region. And by the time we get to Monday, we see that another piece of energy tries to move its way across the northern plains, and there is some energy lifting up from the southern plains, but right now it looks like it will remain primarily to the south of us, although there is some indications that we could see a few scattered thunderstorms develop across southeast Nebraska. As we go into Tuesday, we start to see the ridge lifting back up and a little bit warmer air moves into our region. We were looking at temperatures that are approaching the 90-degree mark. We're not expecting widespread 90-degree weather with this ridge as it builds in. Heavy precipitation expected in the eastern Corn Belt in association with tropical energy that has moved up in association with this front. And the convergence will bring some very significant moisture to this part of the country. As we go into Wednesday, we see that the trough reforms itself over the upper Great Lakes region. We see these blues here, meaning subsiding air. So once again, we're going to see a northwest flow, keeping us in the cool portion of the equation, back into the mid to upper 80s. And then as we get into Thursday, we see a little bit of monsoon moisture starting to show up in southeastern portions of Wyoming. That will spread across the panhandle, possibly developing some thunderstorm activity. Would not be shocked whatsoever that some of this will make it into eastern Nebraska. And as we get into Friday, another big system is poised to move down next week, and this looks to bring some significantly cooler air into the region and a refreshing drop back into the 70s and the possibility of heavy precipitation. So as we look at the 8 to 14-day forecast, we see normal temperatures and reflection with this cold front coming in during the weekend. And in terms of precipitation, it looks like the heaviest of precipitation remains to our south and east.